welcome to Soul of Travel podcast. I'm so excited to be joined by Sofya Muhrer-Muromets, and she is the sustainability lead at TourRadar. And we are here for our second conversation in the special series to promote International Women Travel and Tourism Forum. And I can't wait. We've just spent a little time getting to know each other, and I really can't wait to begin the conversation and bring in our audience. So welcome to the podcast, Sofya.
Thank you, Christine.
To begin, I'd love to just give you a moment to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit what you do at TourRadar.
So as you already mentioned, I'm a sustainability lead at TourRadar. For those who might don't know, TourRadar is an online adventure booking platform, and we have over 50,000 of organized adventures that are operated by trusted tour operators. And my role actually is very broad, as everything when it comes to sustainability, and that's what I love about it. It's really from internal sustainability strategy, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for our employees, sustainable office management, and obviously the external part of how we represent ourselves to our surroundings, to our ecosystem, to the environment, what kind of impact we have. And I'm responsible for our Glasgow Declaration commitment, our climate action plan, decarbonization strategy, looking and searching for the right carbon removal solutions, or how we can support operators to become more sustainable, to reduce their carbon footprint, because we all know tourism industry, they always talk about tourism industry's footprint and that we need to lower it, we need to decarbonize it. So like how we can show what operators are already doing, because there's quite a really big number of operators, they're pioneers when it comes to sustainability, but actually how we can support the smaller operators, because we have operators in South Africa, maybe in Peru, who they don't have maybe knowledge or resources where even to start, because the topic is big and easily people can get overwhelmed. So this is kind of how we can support them, how we can make it easier for them to make just a few steps on their journey that actually has an impact on everyone. And on the other side, how we can talk more about the handprint of tourism, like this positive impact of tourism on destinations and communities, and how we can talk more about it as well. So when we talk about tourism, it's not just about carbon and how bad it is, but actually not to forget destinations and communities that are depending on tourism, and that we can just cancel long haul flights to Barbados, for example. So yeah, it's very broad. It's very interesting, very special. So to sum up in a few sentences.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love that kind of painting that picture of sustainability, because I think it's obviously evolved a lot throughout, when we first started having conversations in sustainability to today, and the things that fall under that umbrella, I think, are part of the things that make people resistant to it, because it seems like it encompasses so much. And yet, as you mentioned, it kind of gives us all of this opportunity. And I know one of the things that we're both really passionate about is sustainability and gender equity, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But one of the things I love about it is because they touch upon one another in so many different ways. And some people might think that that means, then you have to address all of these different things. But for me, it almost feels like everything you do has the possibility to create a positive impact. And I loved the idea of a handprint. That kind of gives me chills, because I feel like it is also, there's so much negativity kind of interwoven with sustainability. It feels like a burden or a chore. And what it really is like this gift that we can use travel to transform and to create opportunity and impact, which again, I know is something that we are both really inspired by. So we'll get more into that. But first, I would love to hear from you. how you got into tourism and how you really realized this was a place that you could create a positive impact.
This is actually a very interesting story. I was working in tourism industry when I was a teenager, but then back in 2014, I landed in Vienna and actually started a career in fashion industry. But people change, lifestyle, values changing, and I went through a complete transformation of myself as a person, how I see the world, what kind of values I have. And just one day, I was traveling through Iceland, and I manifested a workspace where I can be my truly authentic self, where I feel valued for who I am and what I believe in. And 6 months later, I started at TourRadar as an office manager. And I have never felt, like this special belonging feeling. And I fell in love with tourism industry all over again. So, and I reminded myself, like, actually, I had this feeling already, like years ago. And now here I am again, like I'm back here, and it's kind of, coming home, and I don't think I want to leave. So,
Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that. I love that, and really kind of letting people think about how our values and our directions can change. And I think also sometimes they just, we prioritize different values. Maybe it didn't change, but there's something else that was really driving us. But then there's this undercurrent of something else that just kind of comes back to us. And I think travel is a space that allows us to see some of those truths about ourselves. Um, and we had talked about before we started that we would never have enough time in the 30 minutes for this conversation to go in depth, but I will definitely have you back because I want to dive more into manifesting this dream job and what that felt like. But today we're going to jump right into really talking about the role of gender equity, or our passion for gender equity in the industry, and how IWTTF really is a place for these important conversations where women are really stepping into leadership roles, and we can think about how tourism can support gender equity. But from you, I'd like to get a better understanding or share how people and businesses in our sector can understand how they are or are not supporting women's rights in the industry right now, maybe talking about addressing gender pay gap or family or professional roles for women, and how these things all become a part of supporting gender equity in the industry.
Yeah, super interesting topic, especially, like we are a company on 3 different continents, in Australia, North America, Canada, and in Europe, in Vienna. And tourism industry, like just looking into statistics that employs every 10th person in the world, and actually 58% of the people are females who work in tourism industry. And I'm always the person who tells or says we need to talk more about it, that it's not a taboo anymore, that how you address gender pay gap in your company, how you talk about it to your co-workers, to your managers, if you don't feel appreciated or valued, or like have open talks about it, and generate this safe space at work, like that people actually feel comfortable to talk about it. And it comes to everything. It's not a gender pay gap, and it's being a mother or being a father, because we, especially in Europe, like there's a lot of very equity going, like with maternity and paternity leave. So it's not just always about the mothers. We have a lot of fathers as well. So how we make this workplace, especially as a tech company, a fast-paced place, really like not affordable to them, but that they value and they know that we're valued, and we don't care if they go at 3 o'clock to pick up their kid and spend really precious quality time with them and jump on the call at 7 p.m. or something. Like this flexible time, working time, remote working, this kind of policies, opportunities for the employees, just to show them that we value your work, we value who you are, we value who you are at your life and your private life. And as long as all of those components, like in harmony, it always works out. And I see it at TourRadar because we have remote working opportunities, we have flexible working hours, and we are doing great. And everyone loves working here. And it's like really to see all of this. I always think we have so many directors, female, and they are mothers, and I always feel when I grow up I want to be like them, because how they manage it, it's just incredible. And just to see how TourRadar is supporting them by giving this flexibility, it's just this is the place you want to be, but not just in TourRadar. It's just like it just shows you that it's possible if you listen to the people what they need. Because before the pandemic, it wasn't like that. And pandemic showed a lot how much the private life actually means to people, how valuable this time is. And it opened a lot of new doors and it closed the old ones. And everyone adjusted super quickly, and only good came out of it. So like, why don't implement it everywhere as a tour operator company, or if you're a travel agent society, like anywhere you can adopt it. So it's just like this willingness to transform, to make this step, to the leap and take the risk, I would say. But yeah, so like, and especially in our industry and what Alessandra and they are doing, their Travel Guide Academy, sharing the knowledge. And like I sometimes I miss this collectively brainstorming session. So why don't like to jump on a call with someone who maybe before the pandemic was your competitor, but when it comes to sustainability or to gender equity, we all struggle with the same problems. We all have the same challenges. So why don't work on them together and find the solutions how to address it? Because we saw in the pandemic, there's answer to everything and there's solutions for everything. So, but you can achieve it together collectively. And this is actually all of these amazing small companies or organizations, like who are doing to support females. They're really doing a great job and showing that the female, like women just can step up finally, like feeling elevated, like feeling supported, that industry is behind them. They value them, they recognize them, we know what they're doing. And we just want to take a leap of faith with them, like, and to go the next step. I will describe it like this. Yeah.
Again, so many amazing things that you touched on in that. One is a theme that we hear a lot about in conversations on this podcast is kind of shifting from the idea that employees come to work and that actually humans come to work, and that we can't really like have them drop all of those roles the minute they walk into the door. And when we do so, we are kind of holding them back. But if you give them a space to embrace all of those parts of themselves, that actually might be the thing that pushes them forward in their career or the company forward, because of the way that they show up, or the way that maybe you're taking the pressure of worrying about all these other obligations that you're not able to do, so you're distracted. I think there's so many benefits to that. And then also talking about how people are starting to see that we have to work together and be collaborative to solve these greater issues. I think especially in sustainability, we have the privilege of witnessing that and seeing these great minds coming together and problem solving, and knowing that it's only going to serve a greater good. Which would really, I would love to then talk about my very favorite hashtag on your LinkedIn profile of collective power. As soon as I read that, I knew that we were people of the same the same mindset. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about what that means to you and why you think that's important in business and like in our own personal journeys as well.
Um, as I mentioned right now, like that sometimes I miss this collectiveness, is I would call it, like that we gather together, that we come together to actually talk about solutions and the challenges, because as I mentioned, we all face the same challenges, and climate change is the challenge that, like kind of, yeah, speaks on like all over us, and, like everyone is trying to do something on the individual level. Uh, but the next step to bring it forward will be, like to plant these seeds of change that you carry with yourself, and actually, like kind of build your own group, like your people, and you bring these seeds out in the world to actually create this bigger group, as I call it. Yeah, so like I'm working and creating on my group that will take over the planet. So that's what collective power means to me as myself. Like I became this a little bit new person. Like I changed my daily habits. I have I gained a new perspective, different perspectives. I open up to a world and see it with a different eyes when I was seeing it before. And I feel that if I could do it, then everyone could do it. But on individual level, it's still we can make, so like on individual level we can do a lot, but on collective level we can do much more. And that's why, even it's a cliche, but together we are stronger. But it is true, together we are stronger, and this is the collective power. So if you want to have a solution for something, if you want to achieve something, is it gender equity, is it animal welfare, is it climate action, together we can achieve much more. And really, by coming together as a collective with different perspectives, with different background, this diversity, like behind these all minds, this is what makes us stronger, and this is what makes the tourism stronger, because we are one of the most diverse industries. We have aviation, we have hospitality, we have everything. Like it's the diversity of the industry, and if all of these great minds, like companies, will come together, imagine the outcome of this collective power. I don't think everyone will stand a chance against us. So
Yeah. I think that
yeah.
all the time. I think if I could sit all of the, 100 and some women together that I've interviewed in one room, I just feel like it would explode. Like there's just so much brilliance and passion and
Yeah.
capability to solve these things. And like you said, kind of working alone, we can get things done and we can speak from our passions, but there's something about that collective energy. And just as an example, I'm in this fellowship for women who have impact driven businesses, and there's, I think, 100 women from 60 or 70 different countries around the world. So it's very diverse minds kind of coming together, different circumstances, different ways of problem solving. And we broke out into a small group, and I was talking about, the travel that I run for women, and that it's focused on sustainability and personal growth and cultural preservation, and doing that in connection with women in these destinations. And one of the projects that I really like to support is period poverty and education about that. And so then the next person speaks, and she happens to run a nonprofit in the US supporting education about period poverty. And then the next woman comes on, and she's from Nigeria, and she is a medical manufacturer. And one of the new products she just started creating was menstrual cups. And then the last woman that comes in runs this boxing program in Egypt, and she is really trying to empower women. And one of their greatest challenges is when they go to competitions overseas, they actually can't afford products, menstrual products. And so just in this circle, sitting down, we were like, oh my goodness, like boom, 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 boom. We just figured this all out. And
Exactly.
I just was like weeping after that call, because I just thought this is collective power. Like, this is what we can do together. And so I love gathering people together, because I think there is some magic that happens, and the way that we want to support one another when we're all kind of working from this space is really, I think, so magical. um I would, before we, one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about, I guess, speaking of magic for me, because this is my magic, is the transformational power of travel. And I know this is something that you have also really felt and witnessed. And I know you have this really amazing bike journey coming up, where you're riding your bike from New York to Toronto in just a month. And I would love to talk to you a little bit about maybe your motivations behind that, but also how you see travel having that transformational power, and how it helps us to build confidence and kind of see how we overcome challenges, understand how we set and achieve goals, and why this is so important for us and for women. I think especially this is a place that we can really tap into something within ourselves.
Yeah. Just to start, like to kick it off, until recently, I wasn't really aware of imposter syndrome, like, and what is it actually about. And, like I started to do research and, like maybe to Google my symptoms, so what I think, like, and then all of the statistics came in. And, like when you are in leading positions, or maybe how many actually females are having these, like troubled thoughts on, and who doubt themselves, like, and even though I'm, like very confident person, but sometimes we all have this small devil, or a few of them, like sitting on our shoulders, and, like, it wasn't enough, your knowledge is not enough, but this could have been done differently. And we all have it every day. And this is why, like these trips, like this biking journey, so important for me. It's not my physical challenge, because have been always very sportive person. I love sports, I love outdoors, but it's more the mental challenge for me, that I can do it, I can achieve it. From New York to Toronto, it's 1,000 kilometers. I always forget how much is it in miles. But it's it's quite a journey. Like just bike, not really organizing something, like letting it go, letting off the control, and just to show myself that I I can do it. And when you're out there on your own with your thoughts, like you have, I think that's what, like is transformational about travel. I think we are more vulnerable when we are traveling, because we are out of our comfort zones, we are letting go our daily routines, we have more time with our inner thoughts, with our deep wishes. We are more open-minded, to what comes our way. And that's, like my personal transformation happened when I started to hike. I didn't hike before, but the same with the hikes, like to achieve these 1,000 high meters. And when you're on the peak of the mountain and you see this grand view and how big it is around you, and you as a person actually so small, and all of the doubts that you had in your mind, you made it up, and they are actually so small. So yeah, this is when I started, like to feel this transformational power of travel, this step by step on the peak to the mountain, or like paddle by paddle on the bike, these small steps that bring you to your long-term goals, or maybe even a short-term goal for you as a person, but still these small steps in between, they count the most. And how you feel about it, how you feel about yourself. And that's why, yeah, I can't wait for this journey. I mean, it's already in a month. It's kind of surreal, because it was very, yeah, spontaneous, crazy, idea of mine I wanted to do something out of my comfort zone for my 30th birthday. So yeah, read an article in New York Times and here I come. Bought a bike and will cycle through.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
congratulations. And I'm so excited for you. But I really loved, as you were sharing each of those kind of experiences, the idea, and we say it all the time, that it's not so much about the destination, it's about the process it takes to get you there. But that's such a great way of just, when you are hiking, it's literally a lot of the conversation, especially if it's a difficult trail, is just like one more foot. Okay, we did it. One more foot. And you can spend hours in that conversation. And then, you kind of
Yeah.
come up and you see around you, and that awe that you mention is, I mean, I think that's really everything, is that moment of just kind of seeing the vastness of the world. And like, you're sitting here having this huge struggle, and it's all about you, and it's all about you, and it's all about you. And then you look up and you realize it's not about
Yeah.
you at all. And it's
Exactly.
just such a powerful moment. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that so many of us have had that experience, but it's often hard to put it into words because it's such a deep personal feeling that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have loved so much having this conversation. It's been far too short for me, but I really appreciate you sharing your passion for sustainability and gender equity, and getting to talk a little bit more about some of these ideas that I love, like the power that we have together and the power that travel holds. Before we wrap up our conversation, I have two just rapid fire, or I call them rapid fire-ish questions to end our call. The first one is, what are you reading right now?
The hood of feminism.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay. That feels
I
like
know.
something I have to look at right away.
It's a really interesting one. I can only recommend. Can be a little bit tricky in the beginning, but yeah, just to remind ourselves what is it actually all about and what is actually feminism about, because um, it's becoming a buzzword when it shouldn't. So actually, what are the roots? And yeah, can
Yeah.
highly recommend it.
Okay, so in our part two conversation, we'll come back to that, because I have a really interesting story to share around like my moment of realizing I was a feminist and what that felt like in my body, and all these things that I had heard about that my whole life. But we have to just leave people with a cliffhanger on that. The last question, or really, is just a space for you to honor another woman in tourism. Soul of Travel is really for telling the stories of women, and recognizing the positive impact they're having around the world. Is there one woman you'd like to recognize in this space?
Really hard one because I have millions of them. I think it's always sometimes hard, like to recognize one person, because when you think about one, immediately you connect to another one and connect to another one. And I will just give the space to recognize all of us, all of the females, all of the female, like all of the people who feel like female and call them females. You're doing amazing. You're doing a great job. You are where you are because of who you are, and everyone loves you. That's, yeah. My heart goes out to all
Thank
of them.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's I think that's a beautiful gift to give all of our listeners, to whom many are women working in this industry. So I appreciate you recognizing each one of them. Sofya, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, and I can't wait to have the opportunity to connect with you at the International Women Travel and Tourism Forum. And I appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.